You have heard the chorus of folks saying that Mississippi needs a pre-kindergarten program, other surrounding states.
Early childhood development.
And you know, some children aren't eligible for Head Start. And
right.
Working parents have the option of, especially working families, of really scrimping and saving and trying to get their children into something before they have an opportunity to enjoy our public schools, which in DeSoto County we have a very high caliber of public schools. But along with that, if the economy is improving, you say revenue is coming in, do you foresee cuts that we had to make in education last fiscal year going into 2012? Do you see that improving to the point that we could reestablish that funding level for your K through 12 systems across the state?
We just got to. At some point, the diminishing returns from an uneducated workforce is going to affect our bottom line.
Right.
I mean, we've been lucky because if you look at the workforce that were coming out of community colleges, for example, where a lot of our workforce development training is being done, the CAV Center at Mississippi State, where we're developing the most modern automobile construction techniques in the world. Well, that generation is now providing, that young generation is providing the workforce that we need. But if the next generation doesn't have that level of education because of cutbacks, then where are we going to get the workforce? So we are at this point in the budget saying, as we look at public safety and mental health, and again, we are at war, so we've got our National Guard to fund, but we can't forget about that education and not, I think, suffer in the future.
Now, is there ever a point where tax revenues fall enough that you have to increase the tax base through tax increases?
You know, I think being an election year, you're not going to hear any of that. Now, it's unfortunate because you'll see some of it being pushed down to the local districts. School districts will start saying we're going to exercise our authority to increase taxes. And so at some point, yeah, the revenue is going to be generated. But if you look at where we were at in revenue in August, about a $12.5 million revenue above our projections. That means that's $12.5 million more in August than we thought we were going to have last year. In July, it was about $5.6 million more than we thought. Now, 2 months is not a trend, but it's trending in the right direction. So, and the good part about it is now you're getting into September, and a lot of the back-to-school type stuff in August and September. And then if we have a decent holiday sales period, we could end this month with another maybe $25 or $30 million that we didn't think we were going to have. And so that's, it is trending and moving in the right direction.
You know, Ronald Reagan's famous commandment, I think, was the 11th commandment. He always said, "Thou shalt not speak ill of another republic."
Great commandment.
So if the GOP field does become a little bit crowded with some of your erstwhile colleagues there, how will you distinguish yourself from the people that have been mentioned that might run, and what do you think that you bring to the table specifically that the other folks don't have?
Well, I think I have a record, and it's a very conservative record. As I tell people, if you look at the last 3 years of helping manage the budget, I'll put that against anyone. Now, a lot of people are not happy with it because we had to make some tough decisions. But I've been in that war. As 11 years as state auditor and 3 years as lieutenant governor, I've had to manage budgets and I've had to be accountable and make other people accountable. But as we talk about things that are important, I think, to real conservatives, if we look at pro-life, it's something that I think the Republican Party has almost lost its voice on. I just received an award from Americans United for Life. And we did that because we passed the opt-out bill. It said we're not going to publicly fund abortions under the Obama health care plan. That is something that I think I bring to the table for conservative Republicans and say, I'm not going to just tell you what I'm going to do. I can prove to you that I have done it. And we're going to continue to do that in the future, being a physical conservative. Public safety, as I said, I started life as a deputy sheriff. So if we don't understand how important it is to have a safe environment for businesses around the state, one of the first things I'd like to see us do is put a new highway patrol school in, because I know how important it is to have those people that are out there on the roads protecting our family. Illegal immigration, I have to smile talking about illegal immigration because now it's all the fad. Now it seems like after Arizona, everybody wants to talk about it. 5 years ago, when I was state auditor, we were doing reports saying illegal immigration is costing you $25 million in the state of Mississippi, and we need to get it stopped. We passed a bill the first year I was lieutenant governor that says we've got to e-verify every employee in the state of Mississippi. So I think what I can do is go out and say, look at my record. If you want a conservative Republican leader, I can show you where I think we've been able to do that. But more importantly, let me tell you what I think we want to do. Some of the big picture things. Have that strategic plan that ties budgeting to outcomes, that says our Smart Budget Act, which we passed 51 to 1, in the Senate last year that the House wouldn't take up, is performance-based budgeting. It takes the politics and manipulation out of the budget system, and it says if you are successful, you get funded. We want to say our teen pregnancy just now in Mississippi is some 80% in some communities. We need to at least cut that by 15 or 20%. So our strategic plan would be, okay, we're going to cut teen pregnancy by 15% by 2018. So let's get to work on that. Let's get schools, let's get mental health, let's get human resources. Just now the average household income in Mississippi is $37,000 a year. What if we raise that to 40? What if we just said the whole state of Mississippi has decided our average household income ought to be $40,000 a year? That's $3,000 for every household in the state of Mississippi. So we've got to create a market of jobs, of education, of opportunity that raises that. But think of the tax revenue that you're generating after that. Unemployment. You know, in some areas we've got double-digit unemployment in Mississippi. So we say collectively as a state, our strategic plan is to get our unemployment to 6.5% by 2015. And so I want to lay out those large tasks that I think I can get a majority of Mississippians to agree on. It is, if I can, my number one goal is a Smart Budget Act. If I can get this government to go to a performance-based budgeting, it changes everything. Because at that point, the waste, the fraud, the abuse begins to go away, and then we start achieving outcomes. But the Smart Budget Act has to be tied to that strategic plan, so that all the state of Mississippi says, you know what our 4 things are. You know what we want to do. I mean, we also have the fattest children in the nation. So I'd like to add something to that. I'd like to say, okay, let's do this. Let's say that our children are going to be healthier by these indicators in 4 years. So we got healthy children. We're going to teach children not to get pregnant. We're going to increase the household income and lower unemployment. And so those are the 4 things that we're going to do. We have now performance-based budgeting light. What it says is, we want you to list your performance indicators in the back of your budget, but we're not going to pay any attention to it. And let me tell you why legislators, some, don't like that. Because now I can manipulate the budget. If I like you, and I like your agency, and maybe you're hiring the people I'm sending over, I'll give you a little more budget money. If I don't like you, you're not cooperating with me, I'll cut your budget. And see, so now we can manipulate it. Performance-based budgeting says, I as a legislator can't manipulate it. If you're supposed to be helping me lower unemployment, and that's the program you have that I'm funding, and it's working, I'll fund it.